Hey, welcome to Saturday Morning Sages. And I usually don't do this. I don't do an intro to these things. Usually just start talking. So, yeah, this is our dedication to all things Halloweenish. So I'm just saying it that way. And, we've got our two we've got Nestor Maronius Prime and of course me. So doesn't matter. So what we're going to talk about is everything that just anything that we liked, you know. We could even talk about cereal. I don't care. It could be TV, anime. Well, I want it to be TV, anime, movies, things that get you in the Halloween spirit. This is coming out, like we're going to release this just before Halloween. So I want to kind of get everyone in the mood. So,
Yeah,
go get your Frankenberry cereal.
or Boo Berry or Count Chocula, which
That's
other
right.
you prefer?
Yep, go get it. I don't know. There might be some other cereals, but yeah, I noticed that those are definitely a seasonal cereal. It's like I go in the store, I'm like, oh, there's whatever it is. What you just said, Myron.
Yeah, I mean this is probably we're in the last quarter of the year, which is like my favorite time of the year, and besides Halloween and the holidays and things like that, I always love the season because I always loved it when time went back an hour and I gained that hour of sleep. So we're coming upon that, and
Yeah,
it gets darker a little earlier, so you kind of have that kind of creepy vibe, at 5:30. I love all that stuff, and then of course, like, yeah, the specials, like, or the movies, and all
the
of our
Great
favorite.
Pumpkin. Yeah, it's a Great
Yeah,
Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. They used
just
to, way back in the day, kiddies, when people only had like broadcast TV, kids would gather around the television set and watch that. Yeah. It's a Great
and I,
Pumpkin, Charlie.
and I missed that era, and I know in recent years, I think before, like, Apple locked in that Peanuts deal, like they were still kind of doing that where, like, I think ABC, I think it was ABC who had the Peanuts rights. They would have, like, the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, or a Charlie, Thanksgiving Charlie Brown special. They would still kind of air those, but one that I missed that I'd never seen on TV, and it's, since the '80s, is Garfield's Halloween special. Do you guys remember that?
Mm.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, I
Yeah,
even had like the cartoon adaptation they did of it. I mean, the
man,
comic adaptation that they did of it.
man. I actually ordered it earlier this week on Amazon. They have it for like $5, but it's like that's a special I remember growing up watching that I don't really see promoted as much anymore in this day and age. And that's something that needs to be changed. To any TV execs out there, Cartoon Network, wherever, someone needs to lock down that special and start airing it on a regular basis.
Well, at least
Yep.
you could buy it through Amazon. I mean, at least it's not like lost to the sands of time or rights holders.
Yep, that is true. So I mean, I was at least able to lock
Yeah,
it down, but I locked it down just because of what you just said. At some point, that could happen.
true.
Yep.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like one thing. Like, I think like the Garfield special. I mean, it's a good. It's like it's entertaining because like it's like, I mean, aside from being like a solid Halloween story, it also it's like it finds a way to mix Garfield and the holiday pretty well because hey, it's it's all about going around dressing up, going around getting candy, which Garfield loves to eat. So it's like this holiday like well, this is Thanksgiving, but this one feels like it was made for him because it just allows him like to indulge his creative side, and I like seeing that as he and Odie dress up as pirates,
Hmm.
and like they go around. It's really they're really successful at first, and up until they're not, when they decide to like sail over to the other side of town and things go bad for them, and they meet this creepy guy in a house who tells them about these pirate ghosts who come out every year looking for treasure, and well, things get bad real quick for our heroes after that.
Yeah. And I remember always as a kid, like there was something about that vibe. Like it didn't scare the crap out of me, but it had that like kind of creepy vibe to get you in that Halloween spirit. And that's just one of those like, shows that I used to watch like building up to Halloween that gets me in that mood. And of course, now as an adult, it's like, I think ever since maybe early September, knowing that the season is right around the corner, that's when, I start busting out the movies and and the shows that kind of get me in that vibe in an earlier time frame. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with a streaming service called Shutter, but I
Oh
normally
yeah, they're like the horror based like streaming service.
oh yeah, and it's like they got a lot of material up there, and I noticed I didn't say a lot of good material, but I mean they do have good material,
They
but they
got
have
they're the streaming service that has One Cut of the Dead. You should all go out and watch that right now.
I got a one cut of the dead.
Yeah, it's basically a well, let's just say it's about what it takes to make a like a decent zombie movie.
Any
Okay.
zombie movies are pretty much in. I mean, I'm good with that, right? Including this, right? So yeah, sure. Even One Cut of the Dead. I'll take a
Also,
zombie movie
yeah,
as Halloween, right? Any day.
Hmm.
yeah, and also it's like don't look at the plot or anything else about it. The less you know about One Cut of the Dead going in, the more you'll be surprised and be able to enjoy it.
And that's
Yep.
what I love about that service too. It's like sometimes it's like I want to watch something scary or have something scary playing in the background while I'm doing something else, and I find some gems up there. It's like okay, like there is a lot of good material up there, but then there's also a lot of crap. And when I say crap, I'm talking like old school like '80s kind of campy movies that are more hilarious than they are scary. And I think that's that charm that I love. Like I watched this one. It was like a Phantom of the Mall. Crap, I can't remember the character's name. Like Jason's or Justin's Revenge or whatever. And it was about this kid who got burned in a fire, and because this corporation wanted to buy out his family's plot of land so they can build a mall over it. And they were his family was basically killed in order for this corporation to get what they want. So he basically haunted this mall to try to, bring them down and tell the truth that yeah, these people are, murderous pigs and all they care about is money. But pretty interesting, cheesy concept, but it was more hilarious than it was scary. So Shutter has a lot of those like dope '80s style films that you watch for its campiness.
Hmm. So, what else do you guys watch around before Halloween to get you in the spirit? I can tell you one thing, and I know we're going to talk about it, but I'm going to let you guys like continue to talk a little bit. I'm not going to suggest it. Just want to hear
Actually, actually, my number one favorite Halloween movie that I watch around this season is Ernest Scared Stupid.
it. Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I love that movie, and I remember as a kid, like the puppetry on the troll, um, really used to creep me out, and of course Ernest, Ernest P. Worrell, Jim Varney,
Mhm.
God bless his soul,
Yeah.
um, really
Slinky the
funny.
dog.
Yep, Slinky the dog. Really funny dude, and really funny Halloween premise, and of course, Eartha Kitt was priceless in that movie as the crazy old junk lady. She kind of
Hmm.
perceived scary at that time, but she had a really big heart and helped Ernest, save the world against these trolls. So yeah, I mean, really great family movie to watch during the Halloween season.
And I'd say here's kind of a double whammy, right? Like, so everyone knows Tim Burton and the Nightmare Before Christmas. I think that goes without saying, and it's become so popular that I'm just kind of like, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording, right? It's like, yeah, that's kind of the thing you watch, and for some reason it's become more popular. Like maybe recently, maybe because the younger generations, because we're old farts, they kind of tend to like that. However, Tim Burton's like movie catalog has a lot of stuff that's like like really like lends itself to Halloween. I'll give you two right off the top: Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like you
Mhm.
can watch those. Just if you guys are listening, if you haven't seen those, you've seen Nightmare Before Christmas, and you haven't seen those, go watch them. They're fantastic. They really are kind of embody a lot of the Halloween spirit without actually. I don't think that either one of those actually, especially not Edward Scissorhands, but it's just got this vibe to it that's just like fits Halloween in my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's why that's Tim Burton, and that's why he's kind of always been like one of my favorite directors because he has this like dark visual style to where like any one of those movies that you mentioned, like yeah, it lends itself to Halloween. Like you could say, The Corpse Bride, Frankenweenie, Beetlejuice. Like you said, I mean, Beetlejuice is one of those movies too. I watch around this time, but I mean, that's a movie I watch throughout the year.
Mhm.
Uh, I love his visual style on that, and actually one of his movies that I always watch during Halloween is his version of Sleepy Hollow. I love that movie.
Oh,
Oh,
I forgot
yeah.
about it. That is a great film, and that's perfect. Oh man, thanks for reminding me about that one.
Yeah, my college buddies hate me. My friend David specifically hates me because of that movie because I when it came out, that was like one of the first DVDs I ever bought when I got a DVD player. And I used to watch that movie all the damn time in the dorms. Like, man, I hate this damn movie because you played it out. But I'm like, dude, it's such a good movie. And you watch it today, and it's like, Christopher Walken as the Hessian, the headless horseman. I was like,
Mhm,
dude, like that was creeptastic right there with his sharp
That's
teeth.
perfect casting right there.
Hmm.
mhm. Yep. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that. Man, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just the look of the film is just perfect. Just like this creepy, just like the cold, creepy, like countryside town. It's like, and it's all like 18th century look. I mean, it's just like a great film to look at and appreciate its like visual design too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. I mean, that's just a storyline I've always associated with Halloween. I mean, going back to Disney's animated, um, Ichabod Crane and Sleepy Hollow cartoon, like it's just something I've always associated with watching in Halloween. So it's like Sleepy Hollow, Tim Burton's movie, and the Disney cartoon, and even the Fox series that came out a few years back. Like I watched that. I watched like the first two seasons of that every Halloween.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go back to the whole what do you call it? Like the Charlie Brown, like what is it? The it's a
TV
great
specials.
is it called it's a great
It's a
pumpkin
great
Charlie Brown?
it's the
Right?
Great
I
Pumpkin,
have
Charlie
it.
Brown.
I have it on DVD, which is fine for me, by the way. And trust me, a tradition that I still watch that to this day, right? Like to me, because like when I was a kid, like I was and like when I was a little kid, like I was enamored with Peanuts. I just thought that was the coolest thing, and the cartoons and all that other stuff.
Who wasn't at our age?
Yeah, so that and Garfield is
Mm,
so.
True,
Um,
true.
but you know what really kind of supplanted that, and almost is like uh, a slicing of the generations in a way, which is kind of an ironic thing when I tell you guys this. But the Treehouse of Horrors
I,
literally became the standard, I think, in my
mhm.
opinion, when it came to like Halloween stuff. And it was like like when you watch those early ones, like there's one the first one, I think that he did the Raven. Like it's
Yeah.
the Raven,
Mhm.
right? Pretty much line for line. And it's great. It's fantastic. The Simpsons
Yeah.
and that whole set is just it's just fantastic. It pretty much pulls from just about as many pop culture references, including like things like the Twilight Zone and like all these other B movies, and it just like throws them all together, and it's just fantastic stuff.
It
Oh
gives like the
yeah.
Simpsons a chance. I mean, the Simpsons like always like brings in all sorts of pop culture references. On a regular basis, but Treehouse's Horror is when they're allowed to get really weird and really strange as well.
Yeah, I think like traditionally I've always loved watching the first four up until what was it? The fourth one dealt with like that rendition of Rob Serling's Night Gallery.
Mhm.
where
Yep.
Bart was doing that kind of segment, and then those are those are like the first four I remember watching as a kid, like religiously, like all the time. And so to this day, like I'll even repeat that. Like I gotta watch like the first four Halloween horrors, or Treehouse of Horrors, like before
Mhm.
Halloween. But there were some after that too that were actually really good. And then there just came a point to me where like they kind of declined a little bit. Like it didn't have that same like oomph
Mhm.
or vibe to it. And then
Mhm.
I think in recent years it started picking back up again. And so
Mm.
that is just a timeless tradition. Like not only the Simpsons, a lot of cartoons, series have like their little Halloween specials, but that Treehouse of Horror segment, like no other show can honestly say, yeah, this is our 30, our, what are they? I don't even remember what season they're on. This is our 33rd annual, Treehouse of
34th.
Horror.
I'm looking
30,
at the Wikipedia like article on it right now.
Yeesh.
so we're approaching 34th specials.
Yeah, it's like this one's set to air later this month. Hey, like one of they have a Death Note parody as part of it.
Oh, nice. That's going to be awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, so those have always been fun. I loved I love the Halloween specials.
And I would say, just to dovetail that, like it's so possible now to marathon any of these types of TV things, but like an old tradition of mine is to try also do like the original black and white Twilight Zones. There's some elements to it that I'm not saying like it's Halloween like, but it sure is. Like
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it's black and white, the fact that they have like these really, like what do you call them, like real like karma, like kind of get you endings in some of them. Some include
The
monsters,
general
things like that.
creepiness of it.
Yeah, the general creepiness of it. Like, and I know that years ago they used to do like on broadcast TV, they used to do like marathons of these things. Like, I don't remember if they did them during um like Halloween, but you know what? That always works for me too, by the way. Throw in some of that into the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I could watch Twilight Zone like at any time, and I think you're right. Like, um, um, Halloween is a good time to kind of kick those in. But yeah, the marathons that I've always remember seeing were oddly like New Year's, like our New Year's Twilight Zone special. And I'm like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep, you're
I'm,
right.
I'm like, why are you guys playing this during New Year's? This is like Halloween material right here.
I didn't care. I was like, yeah, bring it on. I
Yeah,
was pretty much happy.
and,
I was like, hey, Twilight Zone's on. And
and,
it's like
and,
4th of July. Everyone's celebrating the Independence Day, and I'm watching a marathon of like black and white, like
and any excuse to watch it and have it on.
yeah, exactly. So, what else is there? I mean, of course, we can talk about movies, but and it's anyone Hocus Pocus?
I think the
I'll
rest of
be
my
honest.
family is into that.
Yeah,
I might be press ganging into watching the sequel in a week or two, but we'll see how that goes.
that's right. That does come out.
Oh,
I'll
it's
be
already
honest.
out.
I've only seen that movie like once in my life, and I've never like had
Went
that,
back.
yeah, went back to it or had that inkling, like, oh yeah, this is the one I'm gonna watch every Halloween.
uh, what else then? What else?
Witches,
Oh, I remember that.
yeah, that's another one I watch pretty regularly during the Halloween season, where it's based off a Roald Dahl book, where witch turns the kid into a mouse.
Yep,
Hmm.
I remember seeing that in theaters, and man, it's like that moment where like the witches like reveal themselves and as part of their convention in the hotel. It's nightmare fuel right there. God damn
I
it.
know Angelica Houston scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. Did you see the remake?
Yes, I did, and it wasn't that bad, but it's not up, it's not, the original version, obviously, but I liked it,
Okay.
so it was good. And then, of
Yeah.
course, like right now, though, since I've been, recovering and fighting off this flu, I've been kind of laid out watching. I've been getting back on Fringe. if you guys
Oh.
remember that show.
Mm-hmm.
The J.J.
J.J.
Abrams show.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
there was,
that's
but it was really it's like Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orsi show because I think it's just like a Bad Robot production. It's like I don't think
yeah,
Abrams is responsible for like the day-to-day show runnings, but those guys were.
yeah, and that's been kind of like another kind of Halloween esque series to get into because it's very like creepy sci-fi, like monster transformations and science fiction, um, concepts. Like that's something I haven't watched that series since it ended, and kind of getting back into it just because of the Halloween season. I'm like, you know what, like I might start incorporating this as a tradition. And then, of course, I've also, I think, from our previous conversations, getting back into Doctor Who. Um, starting on the Christopher Eccleston season. So I'm on season 1, and I'm kind of seeing that too. Kind of, getting those same type of vibes. Where there's some kind of creeper episodes. Where I just got done with the episode where they went back into Charles Dickinson's timeline, and they were hunting those ghosts. Do you guys remember that episode?
I do.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been kind of watching
So
some of those shows too.
yeah, and that kind of reminds me of two other anthology shows. Um, one of them's called Monsters. You ever seen it?
No,
Oh, you guys should watch it.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
And
Not
you know
ringing
what?
any bells. When did it come out?
In the late 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, I want to say. But yeah, so the twist of them all were and just watch the intro. It's kind of like it's just this weird thing where they kind of zoom in on the planet Earth, and they kind of like they eventually zoom into a house, and it's a little family, and they're all like, "Oh, mom, they're all they just got done with dinner or something," and they turn out to be like a monster. Like they turn their faces, and they're like monsters. And like, look, ooh, Monsters is on, and and they start watching it. So, and every one of the stories was, like I said, an anthology story, very much like like Twilight Zone, where there was always a monster involved. And I think that you guys would probably recognize a lot of the actors that did star in the show because they wanted to do a lot of other things. And I cannot tell you right off the top of the bat, like who exactly, but I enjoyed watching that show. And where can you find it? Well, for sure it's on Amazon. So, but yeah,
Oh,
1989. Okay. So 1989. I'm kind of looking it up now.
So it's streamable through Prime.
I believe so. Did I buy this? I don't know exactly. So let me see here. Seasons and episodes.
It's on Freevee.
Well, there you go. So yeah. Yeah, so they're kind of, they kind of have a little bit of creepy things going on with it, but I like it. That was one of my favorites. So Freevee, yeah, Freevee does have it. So go watch it on Freevee, I guess, with ads and stuff. But I was always entertained. And by the way, our mutual friend Sebastian, he also loved that show. He was like, "Oh yeah, it was cool." We used to reminisce about that show a lot. But then there's also Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah, that's a show I grew up watching.
Yeah. They make I think they made a movie themed after that, but I can't be sure for exactly.
They did.
They made a Tales from the Dark Side movie because I remember Steve Buscemi was in it and Christian Slater. Yeah, that was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
It's like I remember watching Tales from the Crypt. It's like
I like that one too.
Not necessarily on HBO. It's like I think I also watched like the cleaned up versions they showed on Fox. But,
that's right.
But even then, it's like they were still kind of creepy and enjoyable and campy in their own way too.
Yes, campy is a word there. So yeah, yeah. So that's a few of things. What else you guys got on the to like to watch during the Halloween season?
Well, it's like I don't know. It's like I honestly don't have a whole lot of stuff I watch, but as far as stuff that like fits the season, from the anime side of things, Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the original VA, it's like it's definitely shown its age, and it's like more just to historical value. It's like since so, like you can't really point to that and say, man, they don't make like stuff like this these days. But it's a theatrical follow up, Bloodlust. So that's something I highly recommend to anyone who likes good quality, like high quality anime. It's like, and just if you're looking for like a good straightforward story, because it involves D, who's just like this half vampire, half human, half vampire, who's sworn to hunt down all other vampires, and he's also got this like talking hand, like as a parasite that helps him out. And this time he's been hired by this rich family to rescue their daughter, who's kidnapped by this vampire named Meyer Link. And so you think, okay, this is pretty straightforward. But more D learns about what's going on, he realizes it's not quite as straightforward. And also, he's also working against like this group of human mercenaries who've also been hired to rescue the girl as well. It's like really cool, really stylish, like dark but not oppressively so. It's good. It's good, solid entertainment, and I'd recommend it to anyone who's like looking for something appropriately Halloweenish.
Yep. Outside of high school, they did.
Oh man, it's like it's like high school. I guess you could say it
More
qualifies, but I
zombie
think
stuff.
it's zombies, but I don't know. It's like it's more. I don't know. It's like it doesn't quite have the same like dark, creepy vibe that I get from Vampire Hunter D or another series that I'll recommend in a second. But it's just like it's more entertaining, lighthearted, entertaining schlock. Which it's
Yep.
like it's made for people. It is laser targeted to appeal to your inner 15-year-old, and I absolutely respect it for for achieving that.
Now I haven't tried this yet, but there is one anime. There's actually a couple animes I think of that could pretty fit like in the high tense, like kind of creepy vibe to it. Wow, Monster. Hello.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting to watch that one.
You should. It's good.
Yeah, whether you watch the anime, or you read the book, read the manga. It's like it's absolutely worth experiencing in either format.
It starts like with like the revelation, like Bible verse thing or scripture or whatever,
Hmm.
talking about like the beast
Hmm.
and the endings like lend, they're supposed to lend a little bit of context to it, but I don't know why. I mean, I was like, okay, this is weird, but there's some nice creepiness to it. I'm gonna let you know. And yeah, I've watched the whole thing. This is true. I mean, and I'd probably try to do it on. I'd probably do another rewatch of it actually.
Hmm.
No,
Uh,
no, you shouldn't.
yeah, why not? Do you think it falls apart?
Reread. It's like rereading the manga specifically. It's like there are I mean, like while you're reading it, like when you don't know what's happening, it's like you're just like it's compulsively readable. It's like I gotta know what's happening next. Just like I read the scan and I just like poured through the it's like the copies that I had in like the space of a couple of days because I had to know. I mean, like the story is about this doctor Kenzo Tenma who goes against his doctor's his hospital's higher ups recommendations like to save the mayor of a town instead of this one kid who'd come in first and was like had an equally like debilitating injury. Kenzo basically like realized that all hey we shouldn't judge here. It's like I should like so this kid's like equally deserving of being saved as this big shot. So he saves the kid, and the mayor winds up dying. And at first, it looks like it's like his life is gonna be his personal career is gonna be over. But then the hospital higher ups die mysteriously, and finds out that it's like Kenzo he may have done the right he may have like done like the morally right thing by saving the kid, but there's gonna be a lot of people who died. It's like because he did just that. So it's a good And then aside from being like a solid thriller, it's also got like some interesting moral questions to consider. But the reason I don't think it holds up as well on
On
a
a
reread
second
is
view
because yeah,
or a
it's
read.
because like you start looking, some of the logic for certain scenes starts to fall apart. Like you start thinking about, hey, how does like main evil henchman Roberto manage to show up, just at just the right point every time? It's like that stuff like that. It's like I said, you start thinking about some of this stuff and it doesn't quite hold together.
Hmm.
So yeah, absolutely
I'll have
worth
to,
reading the first time. Yeah.
yep, or watching, I'd say.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you haven't read it, so yeah, definitely try that.
Yeah, and if you're looking for another like very Halloween appropriate anime to watch, this one's very obscure, but it's something I've always had a soft spot for. It's a series called Requiem from the Darkness, went by the name 100 Stories in Japan.
that is a good show. I have that on DVD. So
Oh, you
yeah.
remember it then?
Oh yeah, I do. I
Yeah,
do.
yeah. The story is basically about this like Japanese writers going around like trying to collect stories about the supernatural for a book he's writing, and then he meets up with these three mysterious people like on one it's like one day. So it turns out that all these people have like some connection to the supernatural, and each episode is like a different like supernatural tale like involving like
Yeah, it's almost
vengeance.
it's an anthology in itself, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, and the coolest thing about it is that there's all like at the beginning of the story like some kind of supernatural like thing is like suspected as to like how the person like how involved died, but then you find out no, it was never like supernatural cause of their death. Like it was always like some human reason for it, but
Yeah.
in the end, like, but the way all these people are punished, oh, it's totally supernatural, and they can get pretty creepy and pretty grisly at times too. And one of the things I also remember, like from the look of the series itself, is that they didn't use any. There are like no straight lines at all in the production. It's all just like has this warped surreal look to it, and it's perfect for the for the kind of story they're trying to tell. It's a great hidden gem, and if you can find a way to get your hands on it or watch it by any means necessary, I highly recommend it this season.
Yeah, it might be on Crunchyroll. I have no idea. I'll search Crunchyroll for these things, but yeah, I think that's a pretty good choice there, Jason. um, so cool. What else? Anything else?
I mean, I guess anime wise, like you can't really go wrong with Attack on Titan. Um, ever since Jason's been conversing about that, I've been going back and rewatching it. So I'm on season 2 right now, and just kind of going back, just brought back the vibes of when I first um, got into this anime. Just how creepy it was, just seeing like these lifeless kind of blank expressions on these titans having no restraint on eating people, and it just was shocking when I first saw it, like damn, like this is like a crazy concept, like this, like humanity,
How
excuse
did
me,
we get here?
yeah, how did we get here, like humanity
Mm-hmm.
having to hide behind these walls to prevent themselves from being eaten by giants. And it's like you think Jack and the Beanstalk, fee fi fo fum, but you don't see the giant eating Jack. And with this anime, you do see that kind of giant gorging, and it's just creepy and scary. And so
Oh.
yeah,
Like in
really
this
great
series, like
story.
giant killing is actually like a worthwhile profession.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit rehooked on it right now. Just like, okay, I got to catch up to where Jason's raving about.
Yeah, it's like it may seem like it like takes a while. I mean, like you talk about it, you wonder how did humanity get like this? And I will say, stick around for the answers. They're worth it.
Yeah.
So
So
I'll throw out an anime, and it's maybe one that people may or may not like, but it is, I don't know. It definitely has a horror vibe to it, but horror and anime is kind of a different kind of a subject here. But I'll just throw this out there. It's called When They Cry, and it's I think the Japanese name is Higurashi no Naku Koroni.
I've heard you talk about this before, and I know it's kind of like its own franchise in Japan. They've made like it started off as visual novels, then they spawned like a lot of those, and then they also spawned like several anime like adaptations as well.
Yeah. Now I'm going to quote this, and I might be wrong, but it's actually based off of a fan game that was made. So, and I actually do have it, but so I'm kind of forgetting the context, though. That's the reason why I'm kind of reluctant to actually say it was based off of that. But that's what I remember. However, it's yeah, I would say it really kind of borders on like almost like shock. There's like some shock horror in it, so it really tries to really, I mean, really kind of like, whoa, what the heck's going on here, you know? And like, what are the circumstances? And it all surrounds this one little village, and you know, in Japan, and it has a and these kids going to this school, and it's such a small school, and there's only like, you know, so many. I think it's like maybe 8 kids who go to this school. That's how small it is. But and supposedly happens in like the early 80s. So but and the story winds up kind of, well, you see it kind of resetting itself, and you're like, what's going on here? Like, okay, all right, everyone just kind of died, and now we're back to almost square one a little bit. And yeah, so there's but the whole story is eventually cohesive, but not not boring to watch, at least not in my opinion. But definitely has you know, it's like, all right, is this supernatural? What's going on here? So kind of leaves you guessing a little bit in terms of like what's actually happening. So I recommend it. I enjoyed it, and when I watched the ending, I was like, yeah, this is fantastic stuff. So that's kind of like my recommendation, at least one of my recommendations there. So
okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't part of the appeal of the show just like saying, oh, these are such cute little girls, why are they doing these horrible things?
Not entirely. I know that that's maybe what you could see as part of it. And certainly it does have a little bit of a moe element to it. I will admit that. But then there's a whole other part of it where it's like, okay, well, you know, like, you know, who's killing, what's killing what? Is it the, and the thing is that if I remember the story correctly, the focus kind of shifts. So you're like, okay, when we reset, like the story is kind of reset. You're like, okay, I don't remember that this character actually did that last one, or why is this one involved with like the Yakuza? I don't get that. I don't understand that. Like, what's going on? So there's a lot of different elements that do pull, like I said, from what I remember, it pulls itself together fairly well at the end. But you know, the show starts off with one of the students butchering like 2 of the other students. I mean, you're like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, right off the bat, and then it goes into the story, and I'm like, okay, well, what's happening here? So, yeah, I may have to rewatch that one just to see you know, like what's going on. But there are some certainly, and when like I'll say they make me cringe because it's the kind of torture that you don't, and I'm not saying like this is like a torture anime or anything like that, but I'm just saying like when I see it, I kind of go, yeah, that's a little disturbing. Like as in like you know, that's a very that's almost gangster how they're like well, they're torturing someone else or giving them a choice as to whether they're, you know, what they're going to do. um, in the story, you know. So anyway, I don't want to give it away too much, but eventually, you know, because number one, I've kind of forgotten a little bit of, but I also did acknowledge I was like, okay, there's something else happening in this show. So, but yeah, and I don't want to give away anything else from the other thing. So, would it be worth your time? It's an older anime, but I think, you know, older now for sure. But maybe worth your watch if you're looking for anime in that genre. So, I don't even remember how many episodes that one was. What else? Uh, I don't have anything. Oh wait, I might. But what you got? You got anything, Myron? Anything you watched?
No, I kind of breeze through like the main series and shows that I watch, kind of on a regular basis. But as I said, I'm always on the chase for like some new horror movie. Excuse me, like either something I haven't like seen before, or trying to find something new. And I think like I've been so starved for like new horror movies. Like I've been kind of just discovering what's been on Shutter and what's been on. Let's see, I must have been watching Shutter. Hulu's got some pretty decent offerings, and then of course Amazon. And so Shutter has some really interesting gems. There's one I watched recently called Glorious, where J.K. Simmons plays the voice of this demon in a bathroom stall, and it's called Glorious because this guy gets trapped in a rest stop bathroom stall, and this voice is speaking to him, and from this stall, and in the stall next door where he's in, you see a glory hole, but around that hole is like this weird demon entity painted around it. And basically the voice is telling him like that his father is this destroyer of realities, and if his father finds him and absorb his ability, he's going to destroy the universe and all humanity, and he needs this guy to make a sacrifice in order to prevent that from happening. So it was a very interesting concept that just took place in this entirety in this bathroom with just three actors, or actually I'd say four actors in total. um, Very interesting concept, and the twist payoff was like, oh damn, dude, like I didn't expect that. And so yeah, really good one. So I've been finding some gems across Shutter that, as I'm looking for new horror movies to get into and add to my catalog of traditions to watch every Halloween season, I'm finding some new ones to grow the list.
Cool. How about you, Jason?
It's like Myron Mitt said that he's talking that last thing about the short uh, so was it a short or was it an actual? They make an actual movie out of that.
They actually made a movie out of it.
Okay, but the thing about like the dad being like like the destroyer of reality reminded me of another film I saw years ago, called Frailty. It's the only film that Bill Paxton ever directed, and he stars as this, it's like as this dad who it's like who was raising two kids, but he was raising them to basically kill demons because he was told to do this by God. And the entire film was told in flashback because it starts off with Matthew McConaughey's character, who plays one of the grown-up sons, just confessing everything to this police officer played by Powers Booth. And at first you think this is kind of like going to be like some tortured metaphor for like childhood abuse and all, except it's not, and that dad may not have been as crazy as it's like as he was initially made out to be. It's another one of those things where like, the less you know going in, um like the better. I mean, yeah, it's like maybe I spoil things a little, but at the same time, if you're as soaked in the genre as we are, you probably would guess that something's coming. There's got to be some kind of twist here, and I think this is pretty good. I recommend. Another thing you can check out. It's not on Shutter though. IMDb says it's on Cinemax, HBO Max, and you can also rent it on Amazon as well. Oh, and also, funnily enough, Requiem from the Darkness,
Yep.
IMDb says that that's not only on Freevee, but it's also free if you got a Prime subscription on Amazon as well.
Nice. Nice. Um, I'm trying to think of something else here. No. What? Uh, I don't know. Anything that's fun. That see, and then when I think of fun, I think of like zombie comedy movies, right? Like those can be fun to watch, but like Shaun of the Dead, or
Mhm.
its U.S. counterpart, Zombieland.
Yep.
Well, I guess
Again, zombies again.
I came across this movie last year. It was called Love and Monsters. That's a pretty fun movie. It stars I can't remember his name. He played in the Maze Runner movies, like the main kid. Let me look it up real quick. But that was actually a pretty interesting movie in which, like, I guess these nuclear missiles went off and it mutated like the insects in the world, and so
Oh.
they became the dominant species. And so humanity is kind of forced to live underground, and in order to survive, like giant spiders and
Hmm.
killer centipedes and stuff. And his girlfriend, like he lost his parents during this incident, and he got split from his girlfriend, and he reunited with her via ham radio. And so the colony that he's in, everybody's coupled up except for him. So he's the only guy, like, single and lonely, and there's no other women in there for him to hook up with. So, like, his girl, like, he decides to venture out and try to find her. So it's kind of like a romantic comedy horror type thing. And the actor's name is Dylan O'Brien. And
Okay.
yeah, it's an awesome movie to kind of watch during, like, any time, but during Halloween time, like, yeah, definitely a fun movie.
Cool. Yeah.
Especially if you're not a fan of insects, it is very scary.
Who's a fan of insects anyway? Does this show like the people being eaten by insects? That'd be cool.
Oh yeah, people die, and he meets uh what's his name, the actor. His name is Michael something. He played in Guardians of the Galaxy as I call him Space
Michael
Merle.
Rooker.
Thank you, Michael Rooker. Yeah, I call him Space Merle because he plays the same plays the same character in every movie. It's like, okay, he's Merle, and dude, what was his character's name in Guardians?
I think that
Um,
was his name. No,
Dude,
that was
No,
it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yondu.
Yondu. Yeah, Yondu.
Not Yandu, thank you. Yeah, so
Yeah, Merle was his
Yandu and
character's
Merle,
name
same guy.
in The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Yeah, but I always call him Space Merle. He's like, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all, and he's kind of has that same, demeanor in each role he plays. But yeah, he's in this movie as well, and I love him as an actor, dude. Like, this cat is awesome. He kind of has that same demeanor. He's been living in the
Mhm.
wild, escorting this girl, and he comes across Dylan O'Brien in the wild, and kind of like teaches him how to survive. Like, yeah, boy, if you're gonna do this, I'm gonna show you how to do shit right. We're going this way. I don't know why you're going that way, but I mean, while we're traveling together, make sure you follow my rules, and kind of teaches him how to survive and be stronger. So, yeah,
Hmm.
I definitely recommend. I think I originally came across it on Hulu, and it might still be there. But yeah, I ended up buying the movie on Blu-ray because I loved it so much.
That's cool. So, how about video games? Are there any video games you play? Not really.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's tons. I mean, I don't really play like scary video games like during the Halloween season, because it's Halloween. I kind of play those like whenever I want to.
Yeah.
But at least right now, like, I got the Last of Us remake
Mm.
on PS5, and so I've been kind of when Xenoblade hasn't taken most of my time. Like I've been, excuse me, hopping on that, and of course, like that's one of the most intense, effed up franchises you can ever play. I mean, the story is just really gritty, and it really it's one of those stories that questions like who's really the monsters, like these infected people or humanity.
Mhm. Yeah, almost like a Walking Dead kind of like thing, right? It's like, okay,
Yes,
Es-
well, right?
Essentially,
but
yeah,
though it does it
yeah.
in a way that I was really surprised that it made it's like it made that kind of story work, and had some like pretty great surprises there, especially from specializing casting, like having Nolan North be like this really creepy cannibal type guy, but also
Hmm.
taking that familiar, like, oh, you've got this old guy who lost his family, he's never going to be able to open up to anyone again, but no, he's able to care for this girl Ellie, and
Mm.
then it's like it kind of takes like how he managed like to finally takes the fact that he's managed to finally care for her and just twist it in you like a knife for reasons
Mhm.
that I won't go into
Yeah,
here if you've never seen it. But I just thought that was just genius because it just shows you how that kind of story, it's got its own, it's got its downfalls as well. And I thought they exploited it really well here in a way I
yeah.
did
Yeah,
not see coming.
and that I mean that's something that uh I don't know how common it is. I know I've seen it a few other places too, right? Like that kind of trope or that kind of like kind of plot, right? So yeah, it's kind of cool. I like that.
And then of course you have your Resident Evils, and
Yep.
that's
Yep.
that's a that's a franchise I've been long a fan of. However, when I was younger, I used to play those games and beat them like the back of my hand. But maybe or wrong choice of words, but I used to know them like the back of my hand. I,
Yeah.
used- I knew them like the back of my hand and would like beat them
Yeah.
like clockwork. But
Yep.
in this day and age, I hope you can edit out that last comment. But in this day and age, the effects and what they've done with these remakes, dude, like I don't think yeah, it's hard for my ticker to handle. It's just like Resident Evil 2, for instance, like I knew the map and I knew where to go and I knew the surprises. The remake has like changed things up to where like, oh shit, I'm scared, and like, oh damn, like I can only play it in small doses, and so the remakes have been a really welcome change for the franchise, at least for me. Um, Resident Evil 7, or which is called Biohazard, like I never beat that game, and I don't know if I'll ever beat that game just because it's too stressful. Um,
Yep.
it really it's really intense, and of course managing your resources and your ammo is a little bit more key. Resident Evil 8 is a little more forgiving, and I love that one, and that's one I'm still trucking through. I think I'm on like the third dungeon area or master. But those have been really great games, and that's been a really tried and true franchise as it was starting to fall off a bit. Capcom really turned that around and really recognized like, you know, what made this franchise special to begin with, because Shinji Mikami, who is the father of this franchise, like once he left Capcom, like you know I can't remember who took over, but like it started to fall off a little bit, and I think they needed to pump the brakes and really reevaluate Resident Evil as a franchise, and I think they really brought it back to its former glory. And so that's another franchise that, yeah, you could say it's good to play during Halloween time, but that's something like I'll pop in every now and then, like I feel like playing like Resident Evil 4, because that's like probably one of my top favorite ones, and I play that like on Switch on a regular basis. So love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while go on ahead.
Oh no. So I just want to say that, Myron, even if you don't get around to like actually finishing, part 7, you should definitely check out the End of Zoe DLC for it, because it's not very. I'll admit it's not very Halloweenish because it's like ultimately kind of silly, but it's silly in such a great way because you play Grandpa Baker, who's like heard some bad things happen to his family, and so he comes back to the swamp to check things
Oh
out.
shit. Okay.
But Grandpa's like he's not one of the the guy the guys who like you use your guns, your RPGs, or your knives. No, he uses his fists. So you're just gonna go sneak through the it's like the swamp, punching or strangling everything that you can get your hands on, up until the very last part where you get overwhelmed by all the things coming at you, and you have to find the one special thing that will allow you to fight back. And oh my
So,
god, when we found it, it was Levin and I like laughed our asses off in the best way. It was amazing.
so he's like the original Bayou Billy. He's a tough son of a bitch.
Yep.
Right on.
Hilarious. I was gonna say, I love Dead Rising too, even though it's another zombie game. A lot of fun. I mean, the original first one. I mean, the other. I think 3 was also pretty capable. 2 was a little. No, it was bad, but really, Dead Rising was fun. Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Just whack out. I mean, I get it. It is basically, it's like a video game version of the one movie, but I love it. It's play.
Yeah, it's Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, but
yeah,
like some people like will like saying the series like lost its way after part 3 with part 4, but I don't know. I still kind of enjoyed them all because like they're all pretty silly and like they acknowledge that to some extent, and I think that 4 did a good job of acknowledging that, like in the context of like how Frank was now just this bitter, angry, sarcastic survivor. So yeah, it's like those are all good fun, but probably more camp and more humorous than than I guess like some of the other Halloween fare we've been talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So I don't know what else.
I think I've exhausted everything I know.
Super Mario Sunshine. I'm just kidding.
I mean, if you want to keep your Halloween PG or I mean G, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, yeah. As for I think we've gone through a pretty good list here. Of things, just calling it out of our memories and whatnot, and stuff that we still watch to this day. But yeah, Halloween, such a cool holiday. I love a lot of things about it. It's just great, and
I guess one.
What else? Got another thing?
I was gonna say one final thing, like your favorite sitcoms when you were growing up. Everyone always had like a Halloween episode, like Perfect Strangers, Family Matters, those are always enjoyable to watch too. Even to this day, like watching shows like The Goldbergs or Blackish. I mean, everybody has those holiday episodes, so those are always fun to watch as well. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of funny because that's why I was thinking of like The Simpsons in a lot of ways. I was like, it's got that, but those are really kind of like they came out on Halloween. They were really aimed at Halloween, right? And so, and that's kind of like you do see that. And I will say this one thing is that so you guys know that I'm a big Stargate fan, right? So I mean, I like the TV series. I like the movie too. Don't get me wrong, but Stargate Atlantis, the one that's like takes place, it has a very different vibe to it. It's one of Jason Momoa's like first acting gigs, by the way. Yeah, Aquaman and yeah, he's on that show, and like he's still friends with the other actor that plays the Colonel in that show. Anyway, they when they go to this other galaxy, just if you haven't watched Stargate Atlantis, it's almost its own thing, kind of. But in that galaxy, like there are, the evolution kind of changed because of for this subset of humanoids, and they became like life sucking, like for lack of a better word, like vampires. They're not vampires though. They kind of like suck the life force and kill people. So they cull all sorts of people off of these worlds. So um and there are several episodes that are just 100% like Halloween themed without saying Halloween. And there, it's just like, what's lurking in the fog kind of an episode. Now it's like, okay, yeah, how it can, like one of, and they call them wraith. That's what they call them, these aliens that feed on humans. But it has almost like, and I love watching that. And I just started rewatching that show, and I'm like, yeah, this is actually kind of cool. So, and of course, Jason Momoa's character, yeah, he really hates him because what they called him a runner. And what they did was they installed a tracking device into his spine so that they could just hunt him across all these different worlds. So when the hero team from Stargate, from the city Atlantis finds him, they wind up like taking it out of him, and then he winds up joining their team. So, but yeah, he's pretty cool. And that's when he had like he had some serious dreadlocks, and for I think it only lasted like 4 or 5 seasons, but he would do all of his own stunts on that show, and he wound up cutting dreadlocks off because they would like rip at his scalp. Anyway, just a little trivia for you there. So they gave him a wig that they made out of it for the last season. It doesn't look that great, but oh well. Anyway, I recommend Stargate Atlantis just because it's kind of, well, it has similar vibes to, it almost could be in a lot of ways like a Halloweenish show. I'm just gonna say that. That's another one of my entries there. And of course, I know, Myron, you had talked about Doctor Who. Doctor Who has all those, monsters of the week.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's kind of cool. I really do, especially with the new Who's, but even the old ones where it was really super cheesy, they still did very similar thing. So where it was like monster of the week kind of a thing. And if you want monster of the week in anime, go watch Sailor Moon. You'll always get a monster of the week there.
Oh boy.
So that's all I gotta say. But yeah, so that's what we got. Any other comments?
I'm good.
Can't wait till get that hour back.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I need to sleep in or feel like I've slept in a little bit more, So yeah, give me my hour back.
Yeah, either stop doing it or make it an even 6 months.
What's funny is I have one of my coworkers. He works in the Netherlands, and he's like, "Oh yeah, have you ever heard?" I was like, "You know what?" I said, "We should all just go on Universal Time. Like everyone should just do it and just wake up at this, like instead of like saying like it's 6 a.m, it's like it doesn't matter. You just wake up at that time." And he's like, "Oh, have you ever heard of Swatch Time?" I'm like, "Swatch Time." Go look it up. I think they were also trying to standardize time. You remember swatches? They were like all the rave in the 80s. I'm surprised.
I remember the name. Yeah.
The Swatch watches.
Swatch watches. That's right. You had like the jellyfish, like, and all these other different like styles, and like they were really hot in the 80s and then the 90s, and then they fell off. So anyway,
I always wanted one.
I had one. Way back when, and yeah, I lost it. And then they used to have like at malls, just kind of a thing, but I know it's not really on topic, but they used to have Swatch stores in the malls. I don't know if you remember that or not.
No, I truly do.
Yep. Yeah.
They said like really great designs.
Yep. All right. But that's a totally different podcast. Thanks everyone for joining. And we'll have a happy and creepy Halloween. Don't eat too much candy, or eat a lot of candy. What do I care?
We're not your dads.
That's right. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
your dad.
but watch out for your teeth and your blood sugar levels, kids.
Yep.
Yes. Diabetes is not a good thing. Okay, guys. So just watch in moderation. Plus, I did see
Exactly.
that Simpsons episode when they ate all that candy and had nightmares. So
Mm-hmm. Monkey's paw.
that's right.
Yeah,
Monkey's paw.
Bart dreamt that he and his dad had a healthy, loving relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ah! He wakes up. He's screaming.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. I wish for world peace. Anyway. All right. Talk to y'all later. Bye.
That
Have a good weekend, kiddies.